Some people might say that yesterday's game against the Dallas Mavericks was meaningless to the Toronto Raptors, but try telling that to some of the younger guys who are trying to prove themselves for next season. And Jalen Harris might have done just that, putting on a show. Was 31 points, which makes some people ask a question. At the 59th overall selection, is he the steal of the draft? Let's get into it. Hey Raptors fans, this is Amateur Sports, the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors. We try to get 4 videos out a week, and we're going to continue to do that into the playoffs as well as the offseason. So if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of myself talking about the Toronto Raptors in videos on this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to show your support to the channel on our road to 3,000 subscribers. Also follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/amateursports. We're going to be watching on a ton of playoff games, plus we do a ton of other content as well. Link is down below. But let's get into our video topic for today. We're talking about Jalen Harris, and of course we're talking about Jalen Harris. You know, I've been wanting to make a video about Jalen Harris, but I always kind of wait for that one big moment to talk about, and this was that exact thing, because Jalen Harris put up 31 points against the Dallas Mavericks, and you know, a very depleted Raptors team with a lot of people out resting, some guys actually injured. It was essentially the third string of the Raptors against the Dallas Mavericks, who honestly needed a win yesterday, and the Raptors almost spoiled the party. They were down by, sizable margins throughout the game, but really came alive in the fourth quarter off the back of a very young backcourt. Malachi Flynn and Jalen Harris both had fantastic games, but we've talked about Malachi Flynn. Now it's time to talk about Jalen Harris, who I think he's been really unlucky this season, because when the Raptors were kind of in that tank mode and a lot of the main guys, the stars, were out injured, Jalen Harris was also injured and wasn't getting that extra bit of play time that he could have been getting to earn himself a position in the rotation next season. Jalen Harris just started the season, spent quite a bit of time in the G League, where he was very good. He was a very good player. This is off the back of getting drafted 59th overall by the Raptors. Missed out on some opportunities, but he's seizing these little ones that he has left. And this game, I don't even think this is a bit of a fluke, because he has been great in every game that I've seen him play for the Raptors. He looks like a bucket, a straight up walking bucket, and it was so nice to see him ball out in his hometown in front of his family. Jalen Harris grew up as a Dallas Mavericks fan, so having his family from Dallas in the arena to watch him play. He was actually listed as questionable on the injury report, and the Raptors medical team actually said that he shouldn't have played, but Jalen Harris said nothing was going to stop him from playing that game, and my goodness, did he show us why. So we're going to get into a little bit about why he may be the steal of the draft with a little bit of a different style, so let's get started. What I've really noticed from Jalen Harris in these games that he has played, it is a very small sample size, and I am going to admit that pretty early on. It's a small sample size, and it's kind of a question if he can maintain this output in actual meaningful games next season. But I think that this game was meaningful for him. Maybe there is as much pressure because the Raptors, they can't move up, they can't move down in the standings at this point. However, this is meaningful for a guy like Jalen Harris, who needs to prove himself as a player. He's going to be trying to get into that rotation next season. He doesn't want to go back to the G League next season, so he's got to focus on what he can do this season in these short amount of games. So there is a little bit of pressure for him. And in the games that he has featured in, I think that the most telling thing about his game is his shot selection. There are a lot of guys who play as a shooting guard and as a point guard who, really don't turn down shooting opportunities. I think Gary Trent Jr. is an example of a shooting guard. As talented as Gary Trent Jr. is, his shot selection isn't always the best, and maybe sometimes he should turn down a certain shot when it's just going to be so difficult to make the shot. Try to find somebody else. And I think Jalen Harris completely possesses this shot selection trait, and sure, again, it's a small sample size, but there are very, very good things that we're noticing about his game that should translate into the future seasons that he will have for the Toronto Raptors. So shot selection, shooting threes. He likes to find those opportunities on the outside to knock down the catch and shoot threes. Doesn't always need to create his own shot. He understands that the game is also played off the ball, and that's great to see for a shooting guard. The Raptors drafted him 59th overall based on his talent that he showcased in college, playing for Nevada in the Mountain West Conference, same conference as Malachi Flynn. Jalen Harris was a straight up bucket. 22 points per game on 45% shooting from the field, 36% from three, and 82% from the line. Those are great numbers. And even though he was a senior, it's not always as popular to draft seniors these days in the NBA. Masai Ujiri is a guy who goes for talent, even when there are kind of lingering things. And, this is why OG Anunoby fell to the Raptors at 23rd. Had his injury problems with Indiana in his season of college basketball, but Masai Ujiri, right before the draft, said, it's about taking talent. And he took OG Anunoby, and I think that was partially why he did take Jalen Harris with this 59th overall pick, and he is looking quite good for a 59th overall pick. It's very rare for a rookie to come in the league and put up 30 points. It's only happened 26 times for a second round pick in the last 30 odd years. So it's not always second round picks who can produce something like this. So it is kind of special for Jalen Harris to have done what he did last night against the Dallas Mavericks. In the end, he put up 31 points on 12 for 21 shooting, 5 for 12 shooting from three. This was a monumental performance, and it could honestly get him into a solidified bench role for the Raptors next season. Watching him play was almost Norman Powell-esque, seeing him, find those spots on the outside for the catch and shoot threes, but when he's got the ball in his hands, he's got the ability to go take it to the rim and have that good finishing touch at the rim on the interior, get by bigger defenders, has a nice touch off the backboard, got himself a ton of points there, got himself a ton of points from three, but man, he was like a 3-level scorer almost in this game, and it was so good to see. Let's move on now. Another great thing about him is that his height is 6'4", 6'5". That's where he's listed at. And the Raptors have been playing for a few years now with shooting guards who are maybe a little bit undersized, like Fred VanVleet standing at about 6 feet tall. It was nice to have a shooting guard in the game who, could get those bigger defenders on him and still finish above them. He could still take the three above the bigger defenders because his height did give him a little bit of an advantage. But despite being at 6'4", 6'5", still very athletic. And I was just alluding to him getting to the rim. And I think the athleticism really helps him, even with the size. He has the ability to blow by defenders in getting to the rim, to blow by defenders to get open on the outside, and to go off of a screen to hit a three-point shot. Even though I was saying a lot of the catch and shoot threes were there, he was still creating opportunities for himself. He stick the ball in his hand and he could pull up for three off the dribble and knock down a fair few. Again, shot 5 for 12 from three over the course of the game. It was hugely impressive. He just has that craftiness. He has that, it's part of his offensive ability, but it's also part of his athleticism to have that craftiness to create his own shooting opportunities. And that was one of the most telling things, again, about his game. And it's not just yesterday. It's not just a one game. I'm watching every single Raptors game here, and I'm seeing Jalen Harris has these traits already about him, and they aren't just lucky things that happen. Guys have good shooting nights. Like Stanley Johnson put up 35 points. Guys have good shooting nights. But I'm seeing game after game here. It's only been a few games, but every single one of them, we are noticing that Jalen Harris possesses these traits. These aren't just, lucky things happening. These are traits that he owns and something that he is harnessing to try to make something of these last few games in the season. It's very early to make a call on any sort of ceiling at this point because, again, we just really haven't seen enough of Jalen Harris. But, again, I will say there are very good signs about his game. And I feel like it might be a little bit recency bias. I feel like maybe I'm trying to check myself in terms of it's only been a few games near the end of the season. But again, these are things that he possesses about his game that will be able to translate into future seasons. And getting selected 59th overall, I don't think I've ever seen a player selected this late produce this sort of performance, especially for the Toronto Raptors. The last time we had a super late pick like this, like maybe looking at something like Duan Hernandez, who eventually got waived by the Raptors, specifically for the Raptors, I've never seen a later pick like this produce something like this. In fact, in most of the NBA terms, later picks don't produce game like this very often. Like I was saying earlier about, second round picks being able to hit the 30-point plateau. So ceiling, I think that, it's very difficult to judge. But based on his skill set, his craftiness, his shooting ability, he's got like that sniper trait from three. He's got the finishing touch at the rim. He's got a high ceiling. Pair that with his height. He puts on a little bit of muscle. He gets himself a proper offseason of development with this Toronto Raptors team. I think there is a good potential for Jalen Harris to be in a key 9-man rotation for the Toronto Raptors next season. I think a lot of his role will also depend on the draft. So I feel like the Raptors are going to be wanting to draft a shooting guard. But I think Jalen Harris has produced in these games recently better than anything I saw Terrence Davis do. And it looks like Jalen Harris can kind of take over that Terrence Davis role going into next season. And I think that, he's got the smarts about him and the decision making that Terrence Davis doesn't possess, which will allow him to find a different level for this team. I'm very excited about the prospect of what Jalen Harris can produce. Will he be the best player out of the draft class? Absolutely not. But getting drafted 59th overall, if he can have a serious effect on the Raptors at any point in his NBA career, being, 7th, 8th, 9th guy in the rotation, this is an absolute steal and another indication of how good this Toronto Raptors team is at drafting players. So what do you guys think about Jalen Harris? Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. But again, that is the end of today's video. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Yet again, you guys are the best for supporting me. Make sure to like the video if you did like at any point. Really goes a long way to helping us reach new viewers. And hit us up on Twitch. Follow us on Twitch there. We just hit 60 subscribers on the Twitch. We're at 200 followers. Join the Amateur Army with the link down below. But also subscribe to the YouTube channel on a road to 3,000 subscribers. Check out the most recent video from the channel on top and another video you might like on the bottom. And don't forget, at the end of the day, I believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. I'll see you again next time for another video.